what's the one piece of career advice you wish somebody had given you when you were starting out?
You know what? I've thought about this a lot, and I actually got some great advice myself, right? So, and I'd like to, I suppose, think about what can I add to that, or, what's the advice that I was given? So way back when, there was a guy called Phil Tripp, and he was an A&R guy for Sony BMG, right? Back when record companies had A&R guys. And something that he said to me always stuck with me, and it was that luck happens where preparation meets opportunity, right? It turns out he was paraphrasing like some ancient Roman or something like that, but to me it was all fresh, and it was like, I was like, wow, what a piece of advice, and I took that to mean, like, I guess, dig into the things that you're passionate about or whatever, and one day an opportunity will arise and you'll be able to take advantage of that, right? It's something that I utilized in at the time, and it paid off for me quite a few times, although the opportunity never really was the same as the thing I was preparing for. Usually it wasn't, it was like something out of left field, and so I'd probably add to that, like, if I was to think about it now, that same piece of advice, one of the things that I would say to young people getting started out is actually preparation meaning not so much that one thing that you want to achieve, but be aware that no matter where you are at any given point in time, and that goes for, like, you're in the middle of a project, or you're looking at your career, or your personal life, every aspect of your life, no matter where you are, whether it's in a good position or a bad position, is 100% subject to change, right? So particularly if things are going well, don't forget to maybe have, well, in my case, I have like plan B, plan C, plan D, plan E through Z, just in case plan A fails, right? So always prepare, not so much prepare for the worst, but be ready to pivot if things go pear-shaped, or whatever, because you're guaranteed you'll be in the middle of a project, a key person will go, hey, I've got another job somewhere else, I'm out of here in 2 weeks or in a month or whatever, and you've got to be ready to pick up the slack or deal with that, whatever that circumstance is. So that would be my advice. Have multiple fallback strategies in place all the time.
Awesome. That's a very good piece of advice, actually, thinking about it.
Mate,
wicked.
It's stood the test of time for me, I can tell you. I've pivoted more times than Margot Fontaine, and probably the young people out there will have to look that one up. But check her out, Margot Fontaine.
I'll have to check her out afterwards. I'm not too familiar with that. Can you share a pivotal moment in your career that's made a significant impact?
Yeah, actually I can. This is from quite a while back. I was in a situation where I was prepared, and an opportunity came up, and that opportunity led me to the other side of the world, where I leapt with both feet into a partnership with a couple of guys that I knew. We were setting up a game company. And it was based in Dublin, in Ireland, and we'd spent I'd spent a lot of time. I quit my job and everything, but I'd been working on this, towards this whilst I was still working a job here, and I'd planned for this, and I'd relocated, and I'm sitting there in Dublin, and we'd gone to like countless seed funding meetings, and we were talking to all these venture capitalists, and the guys that I was teamed up with, they actually had some experience where they'd set up a company and made a lot of money for themselves and for their investors. So we had, like kind of direct access into a lot of doors of financiers and stuff. And we did lots of presentations, and we were really well prepped, and we'd been told by our key investor, you guys are pushing an open door, right? Because the guys had made money for this guy with their previous projects, and it was looking great, and we to the point where, like, following that meeting, we'd gone out and celebrated that night, and we knew we were getting this call the next day from Pascal, was the guy's name, Pascal Taggart. And, I'll admit I was a little dusty the next morning, so I had a bit of a sleep in because I knew I didn't have any more meetings. All we were waiting for was pretty much the call to say, like, come in and sign the contracts, right? So I walk out into the kitchen, and the TV's on CNN, but the volume's down, right? And I'm looking at the TV and I'm like, geez, what's that? And it's this footage of a skyscraper somewhere, right? And that skyscraper has like smoke pouring out of the window. And I'm like, oh, that's, it catches your eye, right? And I'm like, what's this? And I turn up the volume, and they're talking about this building, and how a plane just crashed into the side of it. And it turns out that building, long story short, was the World Trade Center. And as I'm watching with horror, the second plane smashed straight into it. And like, we all know how this unfolded, right? Now, we were at, as I said, that zenith, we thought of everything's going to come together for us. This is it. We've succeeded. We didn't get a call that day at all, right? And from our investors, we didn't get a call for like 2 weeks. And we tried to get in touch with them. No, nobody's answering the phone or anything like that. And they basically said, look, guys, no one's investing in anything at the moment. Like, nobody knows what's going on. Like, obviously.
Yeah.
As a result of that horrible incident, the whole thing just went to pieces, right? And so for me, that was like, I don't know, a year and a half of solid planning that we thought we'd succeeded, and yet we hadn't. And after that, the whole thing kind of limped away, and we never got there. So for me, it was like I suppose it certainly wasn't a pivotal success by any stretch, right? But at the same time, it did sort of get in my head, like, what do you do? What's your fallback when things go wrong, right? And that's, leads back to my piece of advice for people. Don't count on anything, man. But, rejoice when things go well, but you can't count on anything. I survived. I did okay. You know what I mean? Obviously, you live to fight another day. A lot of people that day didn't, so you've got to obviously think about that too. But it was some day, man. I can tell you, it was a definite turning point for me.
Yeah, God, I can imagine. Yeah, I mean, I was probably what?
2.
yeah, probably. I think I was maybe 4-ish. I do remember seeing it on the TV, and I remember that's all my parents watched, and I was like, obviously didn't understand at the time, and I was like, why are we watching this again and again and again? Yeah. But yeah, I do have vivid memories of that day. Crazy.
It changed the world, right? Like, to this day, we feel the ramifications of that, But it was for me a very personal milestone as well, and I'm sure for millions of other people too, and like, not to mention the families and all out of those, the poor people who were involved or who were there, but what a day.
Yeah. Awesome. Yeah. Mental.
Exactly.
I think that's the best way to describe it.
Absolutely.
Cool. Awesome. Well, no, that's a great point. I like how it loops back into your
to the advice,
your advice. Yeah, no, that's well played. How do you approach challenges and setbacks, and what's your go-to strategy for overcoming them?
Right. Again, man, I'm gonna, you know where I'm going with this, right? I'm gonna have to say this. Have plan B, C, D, E, F, G, and through Z in place. Like, they don't have to be in place, but they have to be in your head, So I'm always like, if I maybe get perceived sometimes as being like, I won't say negative, but like, I'll often play, devil's advocate in a project even, and go like, well, okay, what are our risks here, guys? Like, if this guy disappears from the project team, how do we fill that gap, or if person this, that and that person go, and I mean, like, this could be the same if you're managing a team of people, right? Like, what are your backups if you've got key people in your team? How do you deal with them suddenly something happening to them. It could be anything. They could get hit by a bus. They could find another job. They could just go, you know what, I'm going to become a hippie and move to Nimbin. They could, anything can happen, right? So you never ever know. You can't count on people at all, or you can, but like the people live lives. Everybody has this, the same thing as you. They've got a life that's full of distractions and directions and nuances and pivot points that they're going to explore. So you need to have all of those plans in place. And that's, for me, that's where I'm always at. I try to, I suppose, play my career or my life or my projects like a game of chess, right? And the only way you win chess is if you're thinking 5 moves ahead, right? And if you're not, then you're going to get overcome or overwhelmed, or you're just going to get dropped in the poo by an unexpected happenstance, So it's all about that for me. And I mean, well, if I'm honest, I probably freak out immediately, or go outside and have a bit of a, swear at the air for a minute and just, okay, right. Luckily for me, I have plan B in place, or I have been thinking about this. So I have that fallback position, hopefully, that I can step to. And if that goes wrong, well, there's another one in the slot ready to go just in case. So that's how I approach it, man.
Yeah, nice. That's wicked. I'm gonna have to adopt that into my own
dude.
professional life.
You won't be disappointed, honestly.